Get ready. Today's music, yesterday's hits. Dance in my car. Non-stop music. This is
101.5. Anything
could happen. You're listening to
Redemption 101.5 FM Abak, the Citizen's Voice.
Welcome back to the show. This is Around the World Live on Redemption 101.5 FM. I am Basil John. Many thanks for staying tuned over to the rest of the news stories. A senior aide to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned yesterday in the wake of a state attorney general's report that the governor sexually harassed 11 women. Melissa DeRosa, secretary to the governor, was linked in the report to efforts to cover up the governor's actions and retaliate against one of his accusers. Well, the report found that Cuomo groped, kissed, or made suggestive comments to 11 women in violation of the law, prompting local prosecutors to launch a criminal investigation and reigniting calls for him to resign or be impeached. Well, a whole lot has actually been happening with the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. Joining me live on the show right about now this morning. A very important personality joins me. Ibrahim Anoba joins me. Of course, he's a fellow at that last network, all the way from Washington, D.C. joins me. Hello, Ibrahim. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome. Well, so far, so good. Governor Andrew Cuomo has been in the news for some unhealthy reasons. While trends falling from the Obama administration, of course, with his standoff with the Trump administration, standoff with President Donald Trump, and so far, in this administration, it has everything not to do with COVID-19, but with, reasons that he's been sexually, fingered to be sexually harassing 11 women in reports actually making the rounds. Now, what does the recent development of a senior aide to Cuomo resigning mean for his not guilty plea?
Now, that's first of all, thank you for having me. So the news about Mrs. Melissa DeRosa's resignation, it's a lot of people kind of not too surprising, but in a kind of hopeful manner, because Andrew Cuomo is one of the most powerful politicians in the United States, and it's going to be extremely difficult to unseat or force him to resign with allegations of sexual abuse or whatnot. So the resignation of his secretary, Mrs. Melissa, is a welcome development, and as you will know, she is one of the strongest, fiercest defender of Andrew Cuomo. And if you read a statement that she put out some not too long a while ago, she didn't even mention Andrew Cuomo, and that says a lot about the kind of message she's trying to pass across. Of course, she's a female. Fellow women have been the one accusing Cuomo of these wrongdoings, and if she hadn't resigned, much more pressure would have been on her. But now that she's resigning and coming out with this kind of strong statement, it shows that this report by the New York State's legislative judiciary arm is kind of carrying huge, validity, particularly if you consider this resignation by Melissa DeRosa.
Okay, and now let's talk about the person of Andrew Cuomo. Now, we understand he's a politician that is far respected. Well, not until the recent developments putting him with sexual harassment. And for a governor who is known to be vocal, especially, making some strides, anti-strides in making sure that New York is quite safe from the wave of coronavirus. Do you think it's going to be easy to actually, prove that he's guilty of sexual harassment?
Well, first of all, the report released by the judiciary arm of the state has really confirmed, it's not good. Yes, confirmed. Can use the word confirmed now, that he actually sexually abused 11 women. And if you listen to some of the details, particularly the one narrated by this lady who has recently shown her face, they're so disturbing accounts. And there's kind of it's not too surprising because all this kind of attitude goes along in the American political space and in corporate higher organizations in Silicon Valley and even in Washington D.C. So the fact that this is coming out at this moment is a really a big message to all people engaged in this act. And I was listening to Michael Wolff 2 days ago on Twitter Space. Michael Wolff is the author of Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House, and he was saying he encountered Andrew Cuomo a while ago, some years ago, and his own impression of Cuomo was that he just couldn't stop talking. He talks too much. Remember, during the pandemic crisis, the height of the pandemic crisis in New York, it was all about the TV every day, every time. And I think he's brought himself, as much as he handled the pandemic quite well, he's also brought himself some enemies in Washington and, in fact, in New York.
Now, well, Cuomo has denied any wrongdoing, though he has acknowledged that his efforts to be affectionate with people he encounters may have made some people uncomfortable. And do you think he's going to come up with any form of defense when he meets with the legislators?
Well, in fact, his own party has already called for him to resign. Now, remember, the Democratic Party is one of the strongest. The Democratic Party in New York is one of the strongest across the country. And it's been a while ago since Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, another top dog in the Democratic Party, called for Cuomo's resignation. They wouldn't have called for his resignation if they didn't have preliminary understanding of the factuality of the case, pointing to guilt of Cuomo. So for his own top dog in the Democratic Party to be calling for his resignation, for the judiciary arm of the state to be finding sort of culpable in these acts, and of course, recently released news by the Albany County Sheriff that they could be filing criminal charges against the governor. It points to one thing: Cuomo will have to go, either by force or by arrest. He could be arrested. People don't know that he can be arrested if these criminal charges are kind of validated. So he's in a lot of trouble now, and he cannot find home in his own home of the Democratic Party.
Now, well, the President, Joe Biden, has, been part of the widespread calls for him to step down, and Cuomo's actually resisted that, even though he could soon face impeachment and removal from office by state lawmakers. And we also understand that so far so good, there are a lot of evidences suggesting that he's guilty. And it is still a suggestion, and of course, innocent until proven guilty. Even though there is a report, and we expect him to, stand by his word. Well, he's pleading not guilty by, coming to show evidence why he should not be arrested. Now, whether Andrew Cuomo, we understand, is actually top dog in U.S. politics, especially in New York and also in the Democrat Party. And we also understand that with such power comes a lot of responsibility, one that is actually questioned in his own case. Now, do you think arresting him now will be, the answer? And also, where does his immunity fall in here?
Well, the question of immunity is a very complicated question that is, in fact, being asked by the judicial systems across New York. You remember, New York is a very, very big state, and there are layers and layers to these arrests or criminal charges. But the fact that President Biden could call for a resignation last week says a lot about the case. And remember, Biden had his own episode of not being moral in some way when it comes to his encounters with women during the presidential rally. And of course, people expect that someone would have gone through that kind of lambasting by the media, he will call for Cuomo's resignation, which is what he did. But the thing here is that Cuomo he could run for election in 2022, and this is just a year from now for a fourth term, and he has tremendous popularity in New York amid these crises he's facing. So, for his enemy, or his many enemies in the Democratic Party, or even the Republican Party in New York, if they would want to outstar Cuomo, doing this right now is their best shot. Because I'm telling you, if they go to the poll next year, I wouldn't be so surprised if Cuomo gets reelected. and it's just so good to see. Even though we have to respect his presumption of innocence, it's good to see that there are now new challenges against him within the Democratic Party. We're seeing individuals like this very young black man. I can't remember what's his name. Jermaine Williams. He's a public advocate, and of course, we're seeing individuals like Alessandra Biaggi, who was a state senator in the state of New York, coming up to primary to Cuomo in case he runs again. So it's not only encouraging to see that its own colleagues within the Democratic Party are calling for his resignation at this time, but it's also encouraging to see that the report and the Attorney General of New York are sending strong messages to anyone higher up who could be doing or engage in this kind of heinous attitudes.
Do you think by any chance Cuomo could be innocent?
So of course, it's a 50-50 chance when it comes to legal issues like this. But this kind of strong report by the judiciary in the state of New York, confirming that he did harass those 11 women, do not help his case. In fact, his own lawyers, I'm hearing, are not even doing him good favors because they're not even handling his case well. And Cuomo, as I said, he can't just stop talking. He talks a lot. So I think even if he's innocent, the chances are going to be very low because the evidence is they're just like piling up and piling up. And when it comes to sexual harassment, it's a very sensitive issue in the country, just like a race issue in this country. And if you get caught in that problem, it's going to take a lot of proving your own innocence for you to get out of it, because you have a whole legion of female advocates, in fact male advocate as well, coming at you. And not in this case, well, you have even its own Democratic top dogs like Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, and in fact some of the mayors in New York, and including Biden, calling for his resignation. It can be worse for Andrew Cuomo.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for your time on Around the World today on Redemption 101.5 FM. It was nice having you on the show.
My pleasure.
All right, have a beautiful day.
Yes,
all right, Ibrahim was live with us all the way from Washington, D.C. We're speaking, of course, analyzing the situation happening with the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo.